All right, I think we're live now. Okay. Hey everyone, what's up? What's up, In Silico? What's up, VCRDNB? Maddie, what's up? Good to see you here again. The definition. Oh yeah. Paulo Contreras, what's going on? Rob NOA. Yes, yes. Kalmar Anarok. Hey, what's up? Dat Boy Hype. DMB 174 fam. That's right. What's up? Rastark, hello. Welcome everyone to Drum and Bass Academy. My name is STRANJAH and I'll be your host for the next 2 hours. Just waiting for everyone to drop by. Nightglow, yes. What's going on, homie? Good to see you around here. Joseph Clark, Hartwig, Smee 1007, Marco Chulik, KB Noise, Alejandro. What's going on, my man? Nathan, yes, yes. Greedo Kenobi, Yanaki Calvagante. Sorry if I pronounce her name incorrectly. Or Hanaki. What's going on? From Brazil. Big ups all the Brazil crew. Shouts out to DJ Marky. Spy. Bungle. I think Bungle's from down there. Dat Boy, what's going on? Paolo. Sean Beats. MJDNB. Jinglets. Indigo. Where are you guys all tuned in from? Let me know. There's a lot of people here. This is awesome. Just want to welcome everyone to Drum and Bass Academy. And we are all celebrating and uniting to get together today for the love of drum and bass music. It is International Drum and Bass Day, April 17th. And on Drum and Bass Academy, we are doing a production marathon. There were two hosts before me, so Seamless R, who's a brilliant sound designer, as well as Let's Synthesize, who's also an amazing drum and bass YouTuber. We're on previously, and you can catch their streams on the archive at Drum and Bass Academy. I'll be your host for the next 2 hours, and then after me is the legendary Art FX. So thank you all for tuning in and coming to celebrate drum and bass today. Shouts to the German crew, Twin Cities, Minnesota, Blackburn, Lancashire, Manchester, Watford, Estonia. What's up, Estonia crew? Boston, Massachusetts, UK. All the UK massive. Raise up your lighter. Big us from North London. London sound. Florida, what's going on? How's the weather down there? Bay Area, Sweden, yes. I miss Stockholm. San Francisco, Wolverhampton, Portugal. Wow, we got people all over the world here uniting today for Drum and Bass Day. Big up Russia. Yes, yes. Austria. Big up the Austrian drum and bass sound. All right, we're just going to get started. Once again, my name is STRANJAH. I am a drum and bass producer. I have had records previously on Metalheads, Hospital Records, Critical Music, Technique Recordings, you name it. I've been there. And I'm happy today to be here presenting to you drum and bass knowledge. I have my own channel. You can look me up on STRANJAH. I do music tutorials once a week on sound design, drum and bass production. I'm going to be exploring other genres throughout this year, such as dubstep, UK garage, even house. So yeah, you can follow me on my channel. I'm easy to find. But if you're new to the Drum and Bass Academy channel, also make sure to like this video, hit the subscribe button so you can stay informed on future videos. They're making great content a couple times a week. Those guys, the guys at DMB Academy are beasts. I don't know how they come up with content so regularly. It's very impressive and it's really great content. So if you haven't subscribed to their channel yet, make sure you subscribe to their channel. Great content. Shouts at the Krala. What's going on? VCRDNB. Big up. Gavin. Yes, yes. All right. So yeah, as I was mentioning, we're doing an 8-hour marathon today. and I'm your host for the next 2 hours. And yeah, I'm gonna be doing a breakdown of my track that came out on Critical Records a couple, probably 4 or 5 years ago now, on their Binary Codes album. That was the first track on the album. It's called Test Tube. If you haven't heard it already, you can check it out on their SoundCloud or Spotify or all your streaming platforms. I'll just play a bit of the track for you before we get right into it so you can get refreshed. All right, yeah, that's pretty much the track. I'm not gonna play the entire track for you guys here. You can play it on Spotify or SoundCloud if you like, but that is my track Test Tube on Critical Music on their Binary Codes album. And I'm glad you guys are feeling that. I definitely made some personal production breakthroughs with this track. I'm happy to share it all with you today so you can benefit from the knowledge. But yes, that is the track. So let's pop into Ableton. I'm gonna walk you through the project. Dance masterclass, maybe. Gonna have to work on a few moves first. All right. So check, check, check. All right, here is the project for Test Tube. So let me just flip into another view so you can see the project more closely. Boom, boom. All right. So we're gonna break down section by section. We're gonna start by talking about the percussive track, which are outlined in purple. And then we're going to talk about the bass as well as the musical components. I call it the leads. So those are the green parts. And then we have some additional blue parts. Those are additional sounds, stabs, vocals. So we're going to be talking to those last. So this one just needs to be named. Let me just name these guys so it's a little more straightforward for you guys. Let me know what kind of D&B is your favorite in the live chat. Are you guys into neural? Are you guys into jump up, liquid, jungle? What's your flavor? Well, I'll tell you a bit of history on this track before we get started. So again, I wrote this track, I think, man, time flies, probably 5, 6 years ago now. Because this track probably came out in 2016, if I am correct. And this track was an influence on neural drum and bass, more the cleaner, more precision neuro by the likes of Skeptical, Enei, Break, DLR, that kind of sound. So that was the sound that was influencing me when I was creating this track. And there were a number of key tracks that particularly influenced some of these sounds. Okay, it looks like there's a lot of Neuro fans here. Liquid, Neural Liquid. That's a cool fusion. I've heard a bit of Neural Liquid as well, where you fuse kind of like synthetic bass sounds with more like deep liquid sounds. Emperor is a great producer with that kind of sound. Who knows who Emperor is? He makes some great liquid with neuro sounds. Um, Technoid. I've heard of Technoid. I think that's the more Eastern European hard neuro stuff, right? Atmospheric and ambient D&B. Yes, love that sound. Deep and minimal. Yes. Dance floor and liquid. Rollers. Yeah, love my rollers. Love my deep and dark drum and bass. Has anyone heard of Untouchables? Anyone heard of Clarity? Pessimist. Love that sound. Homemade weapons. Samurai music. All right. So yeah, I was influenced by the minimal drum and bass sound when I was making this track. That was my interpretation and my take of it. If you guys are familiar with my work, I like to explore different genres and reinterpret it my way, right? So that's always been my thing is that I like to try and explore different sounds and apply it to my own style and my approach of production, right? So aside from that minimal drum and bass influence, there was that influence of Detroit techno. So there's a particular track. Does anyone know who Jeff Mills is? Well, if you've heard of Jeff Mills, legendary techno producer, he has a track called The Bells. Okay, now I'm not sure if I can play The Bells for you here. Drum and Bass Academy, if you can let me know if I can play The Bells on this live stream, then I can play a little clip. Otherwise, we'll just talk about it. But The Bells was a legendary techno track that came out, I think, in the late 80s, if not early 90s. And I was trying to replicate that arpeggiator, that lead melody from The Bells, that right? Okay, so we can't play The Bells for you, unfortunately, but if you can just look it up on your own streaming platforms, I'll just look it up to make sure we have the track ID so you can find it, but I won't play it for you. Let's see if this will show up properly. Jeff Mills Bells. Yeah, so I won't play it, but this is the song, Jeff Mills, The Bells. And yeah, this was a major influence on this track. If you know The Bells, then there's this lead arpeggiator melody. And it's been the first time I heard that melody was when I was 17 or 18 years old in high school. I heard it on a radio show. I think Adam Bayer was mixing it. Adam Bayer is a techno producer from Canada that moved to Germany, I believe. Or I totally might be messing that up. I think Adam Marshall was from Canada who went to Germany. But anyways, I heard that track the first time I was 18. So not to age myself, but over 20 years ago. And I was always just so baffled about that melody. It sounded so mystical, something so underground about that melody. I've never forgotten about that melody. And when I was making this track, I was like, this track is kind of like a drum and bass track in techno form. What if I try to reinterpret the Bells melody into drum and bass format, right? And that's how this track came about. Okay, so there's more sounds which I'll talk through and their influences as we get through it, but I just wanted to give you guys a bit of history on this track and the inspiration before we get into the nitty gritty details of how I constructed this track. So back into Ableton. So here's the track again. The purple section are the drums, and I'll just solo the drum track. So I started the track with this old school drum break. It's from a drum. It's from a breakbeat pack called Point Break. I don't know if any of you in here, any of the old school heads, do you remember a breakbeat pack called Point Break? This was Point Break Volume 1. So I have Point Break all here cut up. I'll just play you some of the breaks in Point Break. It's kind of quiet here. Let me just increase the volume. Okay. And that's the break from what is that? That Ed Russian optical track. I should know this because I did a tutorial on it. Yeah, Bacteria or Gas Mask. If the track names of that record was reversed, I think. But yeah, the thing I liked about the Point Break sample CD was that they gave the breaks in the normal tempo, whereas Jungle Warfare, the breaks were sped up. So you get the full resolution and sample rate of the original, right? Which gives you a better, a higher quality result when you pitch up the break at drum and bass tempo. Okay, so I just heard that this we may be able to play a bit of it. I'll play you like a 5-10 snippet of the bells. Okay, I'll play it to you when I get there. But yes, that was the break. This was the break, and I just sequenced it a little, so or resequenced it, because I had a bit of a different sequence before. In fact, so this one is 5B. So let's hear what 5B sounded originally. So yeah. See, this was the original break, right? And then I high-passed it. I high-passed this break a little, resequenced it, pitched it up. A lot of the times, my earlier tracks, that's how I start. I start with a break and I pitch it up just for a little vibe, and then I layer that break with additional sounds. Like, so here's the kick. And this kick was from the drums are actually from the Rhys pack. So if anyone remembers the dubstep producer Rhys, he came out with a pretty gnarly sample pack. So the kick, that's the kick. It's a simple pattern. It's just so this pattern. So here's another influence. This kick pattern is influenced by Universal Project's Vessel. So let me pull that track up. Who knows the track Vessel? Just for those that don't know, we're gonna just play this track for a moment. Okay, so that's the drum break from Vessel. I'll just skip right in so you can hear a bit of the drum because this track's sick. Sick track, another influential track of mine. Shouts out to Universal Project crew, Keaton. But yes, this kick, well, the kick and snare pattern is influenced by Vessel, except there's an addition. So if I remove these hits, oh, this one too. So that is essentially the same pattern as Vessel. So what's groundbreaking when Vessel came out is, so this kick normally should be here, right? So that's a two-step. We have two-step. That's the normal two-step, right? Of course, snare is just simple. Snare is just on the 2 and 4 here. So that's self-explanatory. If you've been producing drum and bass for a week or two, you should know this pattern. But the kick pattern is what's unique. So this one you should note. That's the two-step. And the groundbreaking thing, well, it was groundbreaking at the time, is that they moved this kick over here. So you get this falling pattern. You fall into the beat for 2 bars, right? Boom ka, 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 boom ka. And then I added just a ghost kick here. So this ghost kick position was popular in Jump Up in around 1996, 97. Shook Ones, I think by Lemon D. That was the first producer I heard that used this pattern, adding a kick on this little ghost note position. Right? So it continues that swing pattern. Now, if this was regular two-step, this kick would be here and I wouldn't have this one. So it would be just like this. Right? Who knows this pattern? You got to know it. So I just moved this guy here and added another ghost hit to continue that falling into the beat pattern, right? All right, so yeah, that's the kick and snare pattern. This doesn't come in yet. We'll talk about this later. Or maybe this is not used. I just layered a hi-hat on top. Okay, we can talk about the hi-hat patterns. How do I put hi-hat patterns together? We'll talk about the close hi-hats first. So the way this worked is, this is how I built it. I first layered the snare with a hi-hat. So I added a open hi-hat on the 2 and 4 to mirror the snare. Let me make it louder so you guys can hear it. And then I mirrored the kick with this hi-hat. So having multiple hi-hats is key because it makes it funkier. So now we have this two-step pattern. And then we fill the gaps, this gap and these 2 gaps, with another hi-hat. So you have this. All right, that's all it is. And then I just added another shaker on top using the galloping rhythm. So I talk about the galloping rhythm a lot in my videos. It's just that dum da da dum da da dum da da dum, and it's simply 1 followed by 2, and then repeat. Let me just make this easier for you guys. So like, notice the pattern: 1, then 2, 1 and 2, 1 space 2, 1 space 2. Except this one, we removed this one here. Okay, and then layer it all together. And then bring in the kick and snare. That's without the break. And then add the break over it just for texture. The break just fills in all those empty space in between the drum hits, right? So that is the drum track, pretty much. There's some additional parts that come in later, but really that's it. I can go here into the middle of the track. So it's always good to program or plan or prep your track with multiple layers of percussion. They don't have to play all at the same time, but having more options just gives you, well, having more late percussive layers gives you more options when you arrange the track to introduce new sounds on every 16 bar block, right? And that's the, I guess that's the format of techno. Techno is very repetitive and minimal, but they changed percussive loops every like 16 or 32 to keep it moving, right? So I introduced this little funk break 32 bars into the track, right? Oh, don't let go. Let me just bring this up. So this is without it. With. So this is just a funk break. It's pitched up break. I wonder if I can unpitch it for you guys. I'm just playing this. See, I muted the kick pattern. So the normal pattern would have been something like this. But having all the kick and snares would just, it's just too much, right? It's just too much. So it just makes it sound too messy. So you mute this part and just take these shakers here. And of course, you high pass it to get rid of all the bottom stuff at the end. That adds a nice little shuffle, right? It's all about, I love shuffles. There's a ride cymbal here. It's just a simple eighth note ride cymbal. But again, adds something extra to the track, right? Right, that's without the ride. Ride cymbals have a way to really just add excitement on the top end. And then I bust it all as a drum group. Now I actually don't do anything to the drum bus. So this was 5 years ago. So my techniques have evolved since. I probably would have done some work on the bus. I might have even busted it differently today. But this was, again, years ago. You evolve as a producer, right? Yeah, so that's the drum bus. And then we can talk about the bass. So here's the bass. Okay, so I'm hearing that the stream is a bit quiet, so I'm going to try to increase the volume a little. So I'm going to increase the music up by a couple dB. And then I got to turn up my mic somehow. Okay. Chat. All right. Okay, so I just turned up my mic and the music. Let me know how this sounds together. Check 1, check 2. Check 1, check 2. Hopefully that sounds better. Okay, so we're moving on to the bass section of Test Tube. So let's talk about the patch first, okay? Bring up Serum. So I had been using Serum probably just for a year or maybe less when I made this track. So Serum is still new. However, the breakthrough moment with this track is learning about noise bass, right? So noise bass is simply a sine wave layered with noise. Gotta turn the music up a little more. Okay. Okay. So essentially, the way you make, there's different ways, approaches you can make noise bases nowadays, but the more, I guess, fundamental or rudimentary way, or I'll call it the Dillinger way, because that's who I learned it from. So here's dropping another piece of knowledge here. Let me see if I can find the video. Talking Heads, Metalheads, YouTube. Yeah, so this might not be the exact episode, but if you haven't seen this video yet, this is an important video. I won't play the audio, but this was a documentary on metalheads, and they interview all the main artists of metalheads at the time: Source Direct, Goldie, Dillinger, Lemon D. I think Full Tech was in it as well. And the big kicker for me in this video was when they visit Dillinger's studio. So I wish I can find it right now. I can't. It's like an hour long. Is this Dillinger here?
Keep all the flavors.
Yeah, that's Dillinger. But this isn't him in the studio. But basically, he shows us how he does one of his sounds. I think it was in one of his Platinum Breaks tracks. Wait, here he is. This might be it.
The frequencies that he gets, the way these tunes sound.
Yeah, when he did Armor D, that was the part where he does the break, but I can't find the part where oh, maybe it's here.
Different techniques of distorting your bass. You can do it
There
live.
you go.
See, that's just the bass flat kick, and then like you can. There's loads of ways to do it. You can just you can double it up and distort another extra bass line track on it. You get a lot of hiss, but it keeps it raw. When it comes in, it's like an atmosphere to it. And you can. There's different ways you can do it. That's the way I'm doing it today. Wow. There's loads of ways you can get that distorted sort of feel.
Yeah, so the first time I saw that video, I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's how he does it. So he's just doing it on his mixer. He's playing the distorted or the 808. He's maxing out the gains, but he's also adding a layer of hiss or noise on top of the bass, and then overdriving the signal together, and that creates that fucking crunchy bass sound. Sorry for my French there. My apologies. But yes, that's how he made that crazy bass sound, and it hit me. It's like, oh, that's how you get it to sound so crunchy. And back then, when I saw it, it was around 2001. I had more hardware gear. I had an EMU sampler and a Mackie mixer, and I was able to replicate that kind of saturation by overdriving my signal on the mixer. But when I moved more into the digital domain with completely digital instruments and effects, I found it really hard to replicate that sound with digital effects because it just didn't have that analog saturation that created those pleasant harmonics. Until years later, when VSTs got better, the processing and I guess the algorithms of these compressors, EQs just got a lot better. They got better at modeling analog gear, and that was the breakthrough moment when I realized, wow, I can now actually achieve this sound. So that's how I came up with this sound, this bass sound. It was the knowledge from Dillinger, but having the modern tools to replicate it with digital effects, right? So let me just play it without any distortion. So that's just it, right? Just now, let me just solo the noise. The bass sound has a bit of an attack. What I did was I added a pitch modulation. So this is creating that attack of the kick. So when you have a quick attack, this shape here on LFO2 is running as an envelope, and you increase the pitch amount. So I'm modulating the master tune. It creates that kind of kick, that boom, boom, and you can control how much. I just add a little, like even a couple semitones is good. Oh, actually, envelope 3 is the attack. So LFO 2 is a slower attack. So 808s don't play a constant pitch. There's a bit of a pitch bend to it where pitch is down. So LFO 2 creates that pitch bend. Right? Because it's slower. Envelope 3 does the attack. So that's how you add an attack on the beginning of the bass. And it's simply using a sine wave. And then we layer that with noise. So here's the noise. Now with the noise, I've sent it to the filter. So without the filter, it just sounds like this. Now notice I'm using envelope 2 to fade in the noise. It doesn't just come in straight, right? Otherwise it'll sound like this. You could do it like this, nothing wrong with that, but I wanted it to sound like it was breathing, so I added an attack like that. Only thing is the noise has a lot of low frequency information, so I send it to the filter and I use this low EQ6 to kind of take out the bottom end, boost a bit of the tops, right? So if you move this cutoff up, it just gets rid of the bottom. So you get more of the highs on that hiss. That's basically the patch for the bass. And then here's where I'm talking about the digital tools just got better in recent years. And shouts out to my good friend, Jason C, aka 0 = 0. He's the one that put me onto this VST. I was after compression and saturation that sounded more analog. So I was on the hunt. I couldn't find it, and I asked my buddy 0 = 0, who's very knowledgeable with various different tools, and he's also a great jungle producer. You can look him up. He's got some crazy tunes. Look him up on YouTube. 0 = 0. He's got some great jungle tunes. In Your Eyes by 0 = 0, a great tune. But yeah, he's the one that put me on to Supercharger GT by Native Instruments. And this was the first time I heard a digital compressor be able to model that analog sound. So this knob here is the saturation amount, right? Notice how juicy that sounds when I increase the saturation. It creates that nice, fuzzy, pleasant harmonics on that on the noise frequencies. I just brought the bass up so now you can hear it more closely. So I'll do it again. So this is without saturation. Increasing the saturation. Oh, that just sounds so pleasant. It like tickles the ears. It's like, yeah, it's ear candy. Now there's three different, I guess, distortion types here. You can go mild, moderate, or hot. Right. So easy as that, you can get this nice kind of analog distortion. So that's the bass. That's pretty much it. We'll talk about the pattern. So the pattern simply mirrors the kick pattern. So remember the kick pattern. So this bass was playing F0. I can simply just go here, pull the kick down, right? Oh. And I guess if anyone listens to like Southern rap or like trap music, they do that. So they mirror the 808 with the kick. So the kick adds an attack and you add that sub bass underneath. So that's the technique here. The 808, well, this bass is simply mirroring the kick pattern. So you see how I've just brought the kick pattern down. Now I just should be playing F0. Right, so if I play this with the drums, you just mute all the other sounds. And simply just hit legato to join the spaces, to fill in the spaces. And it's simply just playing one note. A lot of neuro, kind of minimal drum and bass, all you need is one droning sub bass tone. Because you want it to be hypnotic, right? That's the vibe of techno. It's hypnotic, right? So again, that comes from techno, that repetitive beat. Now, since I've changed the parameters, it sounds a bit different now, but maybe we'll call this a little test tube remix today. So yeah, that is the drums and the bass. Okay, so now we can move into the stab section. So that's this part here. All right, so let's talk about the influence here. So yes, I can play a few seconds of it over here. Just make sure that, oh. All right, so let's find the bell. Bells by Jeff. I'll just skip right through it. So you get the idea. That's legendary track, The Bells by Jeff Mills, and notice that ARP melody, that dun 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 dun. So that was the influence of this lead melody in Test Tube. Oh. So what I did was I first replicated. I wonder if I can find the original pattern here. So yeah, what I did was I replayed the bells melody, and then I changed some of the notes. I think the bells was dun 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 dun. I can't find it now, but it was the notes were a bit different, and simply I just shifted some of the notes up, and I brought these notes down here, kind of like that, to kind of it's still the same rhythm, but changed some of the notes so it's my own. So that's the lead melody. How did I make the sound? It's from Serum. There's a lot of effects on it, so I'm going to turn off a bunch of effects so you can hear it raw. So it's just one waveform. It's the anti-stasis waveform found on the digital. Oh, let me just change view. So it's the anti-stasis waveform. It's getting hot in here. Just give me one moment. Just gonna take off my hoodie. Track is making me hot. All right. I promise I won't take off all my clothes off for this show. We're keeping it a family show today. But yeah, anti-stasis waveform. Simple. All we have is an envelope to control. So to make it that pluck sound. So if you guys haven't seen my pluck bass video, you can check it out on my channel. But I talk about how do you create a pluck sound. Essentially, you use the envelope, the amplitude envelope. You start high and you go low real quick. Now I just had some release here, so that when I release my key, there's a bit of a tail, so it sounds like it bounces. And what I'm doing is also, here's one of the keys. My velocity is, well, this sound is sent to a low pass filter, right? So without the filter, it sounds like this. Send it to a low pass filter, and I'm sending velocity to the cutoff. So the harder I hit the key, essentially the timbre of the sound changes depending on how hard I hit the key. Yep, subscribe to my OnlyFans, where you only get the secret presets. Strip. No, we're keeping that family show, guys. Yes. But yeah, this is a way to create movement and groove, because you can play your key live, record different velocities, and the timbre changes as it switches different keys. Right? So that's using the velocity section on the bottom right here and just automating the cutoff frequency. And then we're sending this to the effects, bunch of effects. Let me just turn them off and back on. So having a hyper dimension just makes it sound wider. Adding a bit of compression. Adding a phaser. So the phaser also creates movement. And then just adding a bit of delay. The delay is quite quiet. So once again, here is the pattern. So it was zoomed. You guys couldn't see earlier because it was on the other view, but here is the pattern. Let's say again, the bells melody is a bit different. They have this F note. I think it was, yeah, like that. Something like that. I just changed a few keys to make it my own. And once again, notice the velocity settings here. So if this was all playing the same velocity, it would sound like this. Sounds all right, but when we add some changes to the velocity, it comes alive a little more. It's like it like boom, 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 right? Boom, 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 right? Boom, 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 right? That's what I want. You want that rolling in and back out effect. That rolling in and back out effect. Sometimes you gotta have to get physical with the music to feel it, right? Rolling in, going back out. Boom. Right? So that's the melody. The bells is the influence. Big up again, Jeff Mills, legendary Detroit producer. So I just added some supercharger, a filter. Now there's an auto filter here. What does this thing? Oh, it just filters in. Because, oh, let's just play it over here. Added some reverb, Valhalla, vintage verb. Once again, shouts out to my good friend 0 = 0. He's the one that put me on this reverb. Love this reverb. Just sounds so musical, clear, crisp, clean, spacey. Yeah, that's the sound. As simple as that. It doesn't have to be rocket science. Sometimes we overthink music, and when we do that, that's when things become overly produced. You want to keep music natural, right? And then we got pads. Okay. I'm glad you guys are finding me entertaining. Once again, subscribe to my channel, STRANJAH. You'll get more than just music tutorials. So there's this. Where's this? Yeah, so there's this. So we're moving on from the techno slab now onto atmospheric. So probably hear it better here. So this sound isn't atmospheric. It's simply just a pad sound with a fade in. So without the fade in, it sounds like this, right? But making it sound like it's breathing. So so I could have added a side chain to do this, but I think it's cleaner sometimes to actually automate the volume. All right, so the first time I ever heard side chaining is by Daft Punk. I always just wonder, how did they get that pumping sound? I'm not going to play Daft Punk here for obvious reasons, but shouts out to Daft Punk, who are now doing their own personal careers, but innovators in dance music, electronic music, and they had a track. Well, yeah, they were one of the first producers that I've ever heard have this pumping effect. It just sounded like it was musical. Like it was like, how did they get the the synth sound. It sounded like it's breathing and talking. I was like, what? I was so baffled for many years, and then I learned that they're side chaining that sound to the kick. So every time the kick hits, it ducks the sound, and you get that breathing sound, right? And that effect has been always a favorite of mine, and I started to employ it more into my own production, especially in minimal drum and bass. They use this a lot. Shouts out to Skeptical once again. Clarity uses this technique a lot. Overlook. So it's simply adding a pad or a string sound or atmospheric sound and side chaining it, or just manually fading it in every time the kick hits, right? So we can do a comparison. Why not? So we can do side chaining. Because someone on my channel asked if I can do a tutorial on side chaining. So we'll do a quick review on side chaining. So cool thing about Ableton is if you have two files or two clips, you can crossfade them and blend them together if the clips are too short and you want it to sound continuous. All right, so yeah, that's one long choir pad, and you just simply pull in a compressor, such as Ableton's compressor. Open up this section, go to sidechain, enable it, audio from, kick. We want the kick to trigger the compressor so that every time the kick hits, it ducks your signal. And just bring the threshold so it catches every time the kick hits. So notice the meter is reading that it's going up and down. That's every time the kick hits. So let's bring the threshold down. Depending on how intense and defined you want that breathing the sound, adjust the threshold and ratio. Okay, so that's a sidechain compression, but with doing it manually, there's a little more control, and I'm not ducking it on that ghost kick. So with this one, every time there's a kick, it triggers it, but you may only want it to trigger on the main kick signals, right? So with sidechain compression, you're a slave to the kick. Whereas if you do it manually here, then you have more creative control. Right? And I just have that sound tucked underneath. Alex, that's a great question. I don't actually sidechain my bass to my kick as much because I find, me personally, I don't like it when the bass line, it ducks, right? I want the bass to have full impact. So there's ways around that. You could use a kick that doesn't have bass or sub frequencies, right? Yeah, Tier Kahoot, my good friend, uses the blank MIDI channel for sidechain trigger. So yeah, you could do that. That is another way. There are more ways than one to do a thing. I guess I'm just old school and I'm used to doing the old sidechaining method. Lately, I've been using plugins such as Duck to do the ducking effect. So Duck's a good effect. Let me just pull it out. Another Serum, I think LFO tool does the same thing, but the one I have is Duck. Shouts out to Devious Machines for hooking me up with this, but it's same thing I'm doing up here. I'm just automating the volume every time the kick hits, right? So duck is a cool tool. There's no better. I just find for this particular track, this manual pumping was more conducive to the vibe that I wanted. So depending on the track and the purpose and the end result you want will determine which technique you use. Always know having more techniques on your arsenal is better than less, because then you have more options and when you make a decision, more creative control. What the duck? Yes. All right. So yeah, that was the pad sound. Okay, so that's the main groove. We talked about the main groove of the track. So it's basically just the drum track, the bass, the techno stab, and then of course the pads. And that's the main groove of the track. It doesn't take much to make the main body of a track. Once again, don't overlayer, overthink. You want something that just grooves. And then I just introduce other sounds as the track progresses. So there's this techno stab. And it's just a sample from Vengeance, Essential Synths, or Essential Club Sounds. And then there's this vocal stab, also from Vengeance. Now I'm changing the mix of this track, so the mix is going to be all over the place now, but I just want you guys to hear the sounds more clearly. There's just a filtering on the Vox to make it sound like there's some movement. Right? Yeah, so that's the track. And then I introduce a section to create kind of a change up. So popular with drum and basses, we have little drum fill, sometimes call and response. So I have this section here. Okay. So the influence behind this is, who can guess what the influence is? I'll give you 5 seconds. The Rhys sound. Influence is Shadowboxing by Nasty Habits. More the sound of the Rhys. So the Rhys simply was made in Serum with some reverb. With some distortion. So all I'm doing is I'm using Monster 7, the spectral waveform. I'm using an LFO to just make it wobble that wavetable position. There's also, so the first oscillator is Monster 7. And then I layer a sawtooth. Right, that's really all. This is unison 5, so just multiplying the waveform 5 times to make it sound thicker. So without the thickness, just sounds like that. thicken it up. Add the sawtooth. Sawtooth has a unison mode of 3. By the way, guys, we have a Q&A session coming in about 30 minutes. I know a couple of you have been sending in questions. We're leaving Q&A till the last 30 minutes of the show. So for anyone that's sent in a question, just hold tight. We will get to them. But if you have a question, post it into the chat so the good guys at Drum and Bass Academy can take down your question, and I'll be answering them the best I can in the last 30 minutes. So we have this show. I'm still on for another 55 minutes. So I guess in 25 minutes, we'll do Q&A. So this is the sawtooth. So layer the two together and just smash it with the distortion. Add reverb. And you get a nasty Rhys. And then the drum break is another break beat. What break is it? I don't remember. Oh, it's from Addictive Drums. Sick. See, I forgot. So I recreated. I created a drum break with Addictive Drums using the Real Machines. So I believe the man behind Real Machines is Mr. Current Value. Big up. I know he's been on Drum and Bass Academy once. So Current Value is a beast. He's made some crazy dark drum and bass and neural tunes. He's a science of sound. And I believe he was the one behind this Real Machine expansion. If I'm correct, then forgive me. But I think that's, yeah. You see there's some presets here called Current Value. I'm using Current Value C here, right? There's some saturation on it, obviously. This was without anything. So just smashing that drum bus. So that's how I got this break sound. And simply just, this is the pattern. So this snare pattern is another popular one. So I move the snare. 2-step is like this. But move this snare, the second snare, over 1/8 like that. So instead of falling into the beat, this time you're like, whoa, and then you fall in, right? Whoa. Whoa. Because it's delayed. It's like, whoa, where's that snare? There it is. Popular snare pattern, and it's definitely one of my favorite snare patterns. And hi-hats, I'm just switching on every 8th note between these two for variation. So that's all it is. Just added some ghost snares here for some funk on the 4th bar. And that is the pattern. All right, so yeah, it's always nice to have a section that's completely different. It's like you're in the zone. All right. And boom. It's like, where am I? I'm in one world, and then you transported me to a totally different world, beat my ass up, and then bring me back to the other world. It's like we're in the Matrix right now. Yeah, so having a section that switches up, it's just bring him into one world, take him to another world, beat his ass up, and then take him back to the other world, and leave him there to die. That's how we do it. That's drum and bass. So yeah, that's the philosophy of this track. Yeah, like every track is almost like you're creating a world, right? It's not just music. It's a world. You're creating a world of sound. You're bringing the listener into your world when you're creating a track. So you can do all sorts of things to kind of play with the mind of the listener, right? That's what's exciting about music. It's one of the, I think it's the best art form to make someone feel and experience something, right? Excuse me. Indigo Mind. I'm glad you're liking the explanations. Yeah. A lot of partying at late night raves gives you the inspiration. In my early days. What else? So yeah, other than that, we just got some effect sounds. I guess we can talk about the arrangement. Just a riser here. Simple white noise riser. All I'm doing is it's just white noise using AC hum as the fundamental, and then using a bandpass filter to slide up. So sliding up with the envelope. Easiest riser ever. Having risers to introduce sections is important. So again, you're risers making you like you're sucking into a different world. You notice it's like when Neo gets sucked into the Matrix, like. It's the whole point of a riser. It's like it sucks you in and then boom, takes you to another place. All right, we got about 15 minutes till the Q&A, but that's pretty much the track. Let me just talk about the arrangement. Arrangement is simple. 48 bar intro, and then 40 bar drop, 16 bar break, and then I think this is, my math is it 80? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's 6 times 16? Is that 84? 84 bar drop body here. Well, you can say it's 16 bar outro because I take out the bass here. So I have 5 blocks of body at the second drop. Oh. And then 4 blocks of body on the first drop. So it's really 2 blocks in the intro. Here, let me just spell this out for you. Intro. Body. Break. Like breakdown. Second body. And then I call this the rollout. This is to allow the DJ to mix out of the track. Sometimes, well, for anyone that remembers back in the day when you used to have to mix on vinyl, it's nice to have a section without the bass to keep the drums rolling when the second a track is playing with bass, right? When the other track drops, you can keep this track playing without bass. It just helps with DJing, mixing. So yeah, here's the arrangement. So yeah, drop in the bass on 32. So intro is just like this. 32, drop in the bass. Take you to another world. Introduce the stabs. The stabs are the sentinels. So if anyone knows Matrix, sentinels are coming to kill you. And then yeah, this runs for 32 bars with the stab. Take out the stab for 16, but bring in the vocal. So A-B structure. So going from the stab to the vocal stab. So that's a way to create interest in your arrangement using A-B. So A is the techno stab, B is the vocal stab. And then breakdown. So create some suspense. And a second drop. I take out some of these sounds, let just the drums and bass roll. I love second drops that kind of space out the sounds, so it's just the drums and bass. It allows a moment for the dancers to vibe out and rock out, right? Right. Yeah, I love a section with just drums and bass. You can just dance and get in the zone. And I just bring the stabs back in for another 32. Except then I take out the fourth note here, so it sounds a little bit different on the second drop. I always like second drops with something that subtly is different. You can't really put your finger on it. It's like, oh, there's something different about the second drop. It just makes the brain registers it. Even if it's a subtle change, your brain will know it's a bit different, and it keeps you interested in the track. So sometimes we think that we need a crazy change on the second drop. You can just go subtle. Think of minimal changes because your brain will register that difference and will keep you engaged with the track. And I love edits like that. So after you have the main arrangement, so we talked about the arrangement, you guys know what's happening in the track. But once you have the main arrangement, then you do micro editing. So you go into the small areas here, take out, pause the drums for a bit, add a reverse snare. That foot, again, it's like, I don't know, my mind's probably messed up, but when I think of sounds, I think of getting attacked. So that little reverse snare is like, right? Like, oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like, boom. Throwing like a ninja star at you. Adding little changes, micro editing, like adding pauses, again, keeps the track interesting, makes it unpredictable. Like, whoa, what was that? What happened there? Right? It's about adding all those unpredictable changes to keep it interesting. Right? Adding reverse, so what I did here, I took the drum bus, recorded it as audio. So let me just reverse this. Right? Just recording that drum bus as audio and then reversing it. I added a bit of a filter sweep, so it's filter sweeping up. So that's another cool edit. See, I'm making jokes here, but I'm also like the jokes are actually meaningful because I'm trying to help you understand what the mind, what the ideas and the mind inside what's going on in my head as a producer when I'm making it. Right? There's a creative process. Yeah, so we just have 10 minutes left. I was hoping to have time to like make a new mix of this, but don't know what I can do in 10 minutes, but we can just play around with the section here. So I've done like a halftime mix of this before where you just put the snare here, right? So we're doing a halftime mix of this now. You can maybe footwork style kicks. So use dotted eighth notes like that. See what happens. We're just experimenting and having fun before we get to Q&A. Oh, that's cool. Let's maybe add the snare over here. Let's bring this down to 140. What happens? Oh, that's sick. That's a vibe there. That's a vibe. I think this snare has to be brought here. Yeah. So good. So good. Should I finish this 140 remix? What happens if we add a breakbeat over it? 5 more minutes till Q&A. Send your questions in. Amen, maybe. I don't know what will happen. We'll see. Once again, my name is STRANJAH. Thanks again to everyone that's tuned in today. Oh, by the way, if you guys want to support me, you can grab my products. I'm actually providing a discount just for Drum and Bass Academy today. So if you want to support me, you can grab a number of my my products from my shop. If I can find the site right now. Where is it? Yeah, here you go. It's on gumroad.com/STRANJAH. It's also down in the links below if you can't find it, but you can also Google it. But I have a number of products. I have my latest one is my gnarly serum preset pack. So, I guess that doesn't work. Sorry guys, my streaming is just acting weird. Let me just fix that. But yeah, if you want to support, you can grab a number of my products on my Gumroad. Link is down in the links below, and I am providing a discount just for you guys on my online shop on my digital products. So I have a gnarly serum preset pack. This contains 190 face melting presets for serum. If you don't have serum, there is also a wave pack. So the samples are available and it's cheaper actually. So the wave pack is just 15 pounds. The entire preset with the wave is 30 pounds. I've been getting a lot of great feedback from this pack. People are loving it. A lot of respectable producers are enjoying using it. So if you want to grab it, you can get it for 10% off today. There is a code. The code is, well, I had it somewhere before. Yes, here it is. The code is DNB174. So on checkout, just enter that code and you'll get a 10% discount. Also, I also have some templates. I have a liquid template and a jungle template. These are Ableton templates, so it allows you to create like a jungle or a liquid track with a few clicks to a button. It has instruments, MIDI presets, drum breaks, drum patterns. So it just makes production really easy, like a no-brainer. And the liquid kit also comes with the wave and MIDI pack only if you don't have Ableton. So these packs have been popular, especially if you don't have time to fuss with technical details. Take care of that for you so you can focus on creating ideas. And people have been enjoying using these. And I've heard some really great music made from these templates. So once again, you can check it out on my online shop at gumroad.com/STRANJAH. But if you're not ready to support yet, I have some products are for free. So I have a free sample pack. Right, and this has been quite popular. You can see what's inside. Tons of drum sounds, amen breaks, 808s, and also I have a free serum pack containing 40 free serum presets. Also includes waves for non-serum users. You can grab this all on stranjah.com. But if you want support, you can grab a digital product, link down below, gumroad.com/STRANJAH. Once again, the code is DNB, if I can, 174 if you want to get 10% off. So this brings us to our Q&A. So first question, let me just check here. Will I be doing more FL Studio videos? I certainly will. I really enjoyed doing or using FL for the classic R&B jungle track, and actually enjoy making music on FL once I acquired a copy of it. It puts you in a different mode. Every DAW has a different workflow, and I think it's a great way to train your brain because we get used to one workflow and we become comfortable, right? And when you get too comfortable, that's dangerous because then you stop growing and learning. So you always got to keep yourself on your toes. So learning a new DAW makes you think differently, work on a different workflow, because now then you get new ideas. It's like, oh, I have to think of things a different way. I have to get from A to B a different way. So I definitely will be doing more FL Studio production videos. I'd like to do some on some other genres like dubstep, some more drum and bass. So yeah, I definitely will be doing more. So stay posted for more FL Studio videos. Next question is, I really want to get into tech step and technoid production, like your track here. And the percussive label, also old current value stuff from Back to the Machine. What would you suggest to nail the sound? Well, the first is getting your drums to sound right. So getting I mean, we are privileged with so many good sample packs today. So get a good sample pack, or get on a good sample service such as Splice or Loop Masters. The Teddy Killers pack is a great one for neuro. Learn how to build proper drums, and then learn how to make basic neural bass sounds like the noise bass that I showed you guys today. Then learn how to make sawtooth basses for neuro, right? Learn the basics first. How else to nail that sound? Learn multi-band distortion. So that's used a lot in neuro drum and bass. Essentially multi-band processing, like taking your bass and splitting it into low, medium, and high bands and processing it differently to bring out that grit, right? Secondly, just study and listen carefully with a critical ear when you're listening to your favorite producers, and try to kind of think, what are they doing to make that sound? And it's gonna take years of practice to really understand and break it down, but you have to start with that critical mind to break things down. Next question. Ride vs tambourine, thoughts and preferences. They each play a different role. I would say tambourine has definitely been a favorite sound of mine, because the tambourine was definitely a sound that just had that jungle sound when I started making jungle in the late 90s. Something about adding a tambourine over a break. It just does something. That really crunchy, big piece of that that metal sound. It's just something about a tambourine. It just sounds crunchy and pleasant to the ear. So I love tambourines. Rides play a different role, because it's longer, it can fill negative space, right? So I use rides to fill negative space. Rides are also a useful tool for arrangement. You can introduce a ride 16 to 30 bar 2 bars after to create a subtle difference. Once again, remember I talked about that subtle difference. Rides are a great way to do that. Rides are a great way to fill that negative space for a break. What kind of sound generators do I use? Mainly Serum. I enjoy using Pigments. That's a great synth. Faceplant from time to time. That's a very powerful synth. I'm planning to get back more into it, but those are my main tools. On the odd occasion, I use my mouth. Make sounds for my mouth, and you could use it to, well, make samples or what have you. Are there specific things or sounds or procedures besides the repetitive bass to achieve? Not sure about that hypnotic feel to suck the listener in with these techie style tracks. I love how that feels. Yeah, other than repetitive bass, a nice melody or a nice hook. So like that bell melody is a good way to create that hypnotic vibe. It's about using repetition creatively, right? Repetition has a negative stigma because we think, oh, repetition, we're going to get bored. The listener's going to get bored. But repetition is about using it creatively and introducing subtle movement and changes that, the brain can identify that keeps you engaged to the music. So I talked about subtle changes to the filter, or like a phaser effect or flanger effect. Subtle things to create changes, but keeping like a repetitive melody or tone to keep it hypnotic, right? Are you typically mixing as you go, or do you like to get your sounds first, then mix later once the song is close to completion? Lately, I've been mixing as I go, right? Because I can't seem to move on to the next sound until it sits right with everything else. So, for example, I have my kick and snare. I lay the hi hats in, but I'm not just gonna put them in and move to the next sound because then I'll get distracted by that loud hi-hat. So I want to mix it properly, bring the level, adjust the right level. So I guess I'll do basic mixing as I go. When the track is finished, then I do cleaning up, right? Getting rid of frequencies I don't need, adjusting, maybe adding some compression here and there. So it's a bit of both. How do I feel about Ableton Live 11? What are your favorite features and which ones would I go without? Well, I've only played with Ableton 11 a little bit. Love the scale feature. That really helps if you're limited in your music theory, helps you find the right keys. What else was there? I'm excited to play more with hybrid reverb and the spectral effects. I think there's going to be some interesting sounds people are going to be making with these effects. Just general workflow. They've arranged the browser a little better so you can find certain effects and plugins more easily. What else? You can now save multiple templates. So you can save a mastering template, a mixing template, a drum and bass template, a dubstep template. So that really helps with workflow because I'm trying different genres and processes all the time. So having different templates definitely helps. Not sure any features I could go without. It all seems pretty good. What distortion plugins do I like to use? My favorite is Trash. Well, I can't say that's my favorite. I have a lot. I mean, the one I use the most is the Vaster. You've probably seen, if you watch my channel, then you've seen this one. Once again, shouts out to Zero who put me onto this one. Again, sounds very warm. It's a multi-band distortion unit. Great way to pump up your bass as well as your drums. Trash is another favorite go-to. I use this more for I guess drums. I like using this to process amens. Again, it is a multi-band distortion unit with added benefits of a filter, two filters, convolution, so putting it through a different, like in a box, dynamics, delay, so lots of controls. And recently been enjoying the one by what, I can't believe it's what's that, the starts with a T. They all start, well, what's that company? Does anyone notice that the latest, it's not called Trash. Why is it escaping me right now? But yeah, if I can find it. The guys that make, why is my brain not working right now? Thermal, there it is. Yeah, Thermal, really enjoy this one. There's some really alien sounding presets on this. Really enjoy using this. What levels do you abide by for your mix sound? For example, kick and bass. That's, again, a hard question to answer because I really just use my ear. I don't pay attention to the numbers as much. Only recently, as I've been studying the art of mastering, I've been more paying attention. So I've been using DigiCheck. So on my masters, the sub bass usually hits around negative 10 or below, and then everything else might pop a little above over 10. But those are just not hard numbers, but just generally what I've been noticing when I master my tracks. What about your suggestions for mixing and mastering? I know there aren't rules, but what should I put my attention to, and what techniques can be used to give the right space weight to elements? Yeah, I mean, one is just about getting your levels right. It's all, even before that, start with great samples. If you have good source material going into the mix, you'll have better sound coming out of the mix, right? It's as easy as that. Start with good samples and sound. And once you have that, then get the levels right. Learn how to make your kick, get your bass to sit properly over your kick. Learn how to get rid of unnecessary frequencies. Your snare does not need 30, 40, 60 hertz. Cut those frequencies out, right? Making room for sounds. Composition plays an important role in mixing. Sometimes when you layer too many sounds, your mix is cluttered. Sometimes less is more. So learn how to not overdo it and learn how to build a track up, build a bed of sound with the least amount of elements possible and still keep it interesting. That's the balance. How do you give the right space and weight to the elements? Well, saturation is help. Saturation is a nice tool that makes things seem more weighty or heavy without actually increasing the overall gain, right? So saturation is a very great tool for that. It brings sounds out without increasing the overall loudness of your track. So I would say learn saturation, also compression. From where do you start? Do you have a story to work with or beats first? Again, depends on the session. Sometimes it's more mathematical where I don't really have a direction, so I'll start just putting beats together. So sometimes I'll be inspired off a vibe, off another track, off a movie, or off a feeling I'm having seeing a movie or experiencing life, right? You experiencing the music is about taking in input experiences in life and then outputting it through your music, right? So it depends, man. Sometimes I'm feeling the vibe. I have an idea in my head. I'll wake up with a melody in my head. I want to put it down. So it just depends. And it's all about working on it consistently, right? You don't, so you see, I've put up, I guess, over 100 tracks now, but you don't see all the other thousands of tracks that didn't make it because it's all about keep making it until you hit gold, right? So you might have heard one track from me, but you haven't heard the thousands that didn't work out, right? So you got to keep making it work. It's like they tell us about writers. You should write a little bit every day to work that side of your brain. Eventually, you'll hit a piece of gold nugget in this process. It's more about the process and less about the end goal, right? If you're working on your production every day, eventually you'll hit a eureka moment and be like, oh, I found a really nice groove, right? So it's about consistency. I've seen producers using K metering when mixing 12 dBFS, negative 14 dBFS for mixing. For example, kick hits at negative 14 on K meter, then building around that. I don't know much about K metering yet. I was reading about it when I was learning about metering for my mastering video. To tell you the truth, I don't know exactly what it is, so I'll leave that to the experts there. I don't know everything, guys. I have to admit it. Now, if you claim to know everything, then, I mean, either you're a god, or second, you're lying to yourself because it's impossible to know everything because this journey is about learning. Learning is what keeps me engaged with music because I'm learning something new every time I start a session. But yeah, I should definitely learn what proper K metering is. So thanks for the heads up. Did you know how to make dissonance bending bass like in the track Rusty K. Julia Mark's House of Right? Don't know those tracks. I tried to use two synthesizers, but this is far from the original. I don't really know what track you're talking about here. Well, since we've been playing Spotify, I guess it doesn't hurt to listen to a small clip. Rusty K. Well, I can't even find the track, so unfortunately, House Rising Sun. Yeah, I can't find the track. Unless you're talking about this track by Pache. Yeah, not sure what you mean by dissonance bending bass, but I would think it's a detuned sawtooth based on what you're talking about. What are your session settings? Sample rate, I'm at 44 kilohertz. Bit depth, I'm at 24 bit depth. For your label experience, is there a typical gold standard to follow? Does it change if it's a digital only release? No, even if it's digital, well, when I send my track to mastering, it's at 44 kilohertz, but 24-bit audio, because 24-bit gives you additional headroom, so you don't have to worry about, is it clipping, right? So 24-bit audio. But when they master it down for streaming, it's then back down to 16-bit audio. How do you manage your energy during sessions? Well, I practice meditation, so definitely before I have a big session, I like to clear my mind, get my mind in the right place so I'm focused, right? And then you can be more productive and efficient in a session. Also, exercising and having a healthy lifestyle is important as a producer. If you want to keep at it every day, you got to take care of yourself. So make sure you get out there, exercise. Actually, sometimes I get the best sessions after I work out, after going to the gym. I just feel pumped. And I'm like, yes, I'm ready to go in the studio and just make a track, right? Could you show your mastering chain? What tools and methods you use for sweetening your mix and master? Unfortunately, I can't show my mastering chain right now. That's a bit too... I mean, I can pull up Wavelab, but you can watch my mastering video on YouTube. I recently took to learning the art of mastering, right? So I'm actually new to mastering. Before, all I did was just apply a limiter. But now I've kind of developed my mastering chain. For example, I'm using Wavelab here. Shouts out to the kind people at Steinberg for hooking me up with this. But yeah, if it will show it. There's like a chain of effects. Essentially, it's EQing, compression, saturation, or EQing, compression, multiband compression, some saturation, and then limiting. Wavelab just takes two. Oh, here. So I have, here's my chain. Oh, it can't be loaded because I have Cubase open, but I have two. Well, this one, I have 3 layers of EQing. Really, it's just 2. Then I have some multi-band compression to control some frequency ranges. Add some additional harmonic high frequency exciter with dangerous backs EQ. Add saturation to warm up the mix. Add compression to tame the peaks. Add a clipper to tame the top peaks. And then on the far right here is I have 2 levels of limiters to get it nice and loud. So basically that's my chain. Again, watch my video on mastering if you want to see how I master. Again, I'm still learning to improve my process on mastering. And I'm going to be documenting my journey on my YouTube. What do you do when you're stuck in the middle of producing a tune? If I'm stuck, then take a break. Take a step back from the track. Go for a walk. Sometimes you may even have to get away from the track for a few days, a couple of weeks. Sometimes it could be even a month or two, a couple months, even a year. Let it ferment, as I say. It's like good wine. You have to let it sit. And do you enjoy side dub? I don't know what side dub is, unfortunately. What tips do you have to bring out the sub so it resonates through the body while also feeling the bass? Yeah, for sub bass, use a clear sine bass. I try not to saturate the sine bass because I mean, I'm being a hypocrite here because I'm saturating my sine bass on test tube. But generally, a rule of thumb is you don't want to you don't want to shape your sign. You don't want to alter the shape of your sign base, because then it loses that resonating, vibrating, that frequency. So that's the main tip: is keep your sub bass as clean as possible. Now there's ways around that. You can do multi-band processing, so you can still process the mids of the bass while keeping the subs clean. That's mainly it. Making sure your sign base is clean. What is the story of the tattoo on my arm? Oh, cool. That's a cool question. So I got this when I was in Miami in 3-4 years ago. I've never had a tattoo, but always wanted to get one, and I searched the entire city for the best artists, because I'm just really picky. So I found this guy from Ocho's, I think it was called Ocho's Tattoo in Miami. And yeah, just got him to do it. I just liked, I saw him do really cool panthers, and just the panthers represent just being fierce and assertive, right? Standing up for yourself. Because when I was younger, I used to get bullied a lot, and people would walk all over me. But that's not who I am today. No one's gonna don't let anyone walk over you. Be assertive. Be assertive and know what you want, and don't and you know, you just gotta stand up for yourself. Otherwise, no one else is gonna stand up for you if you don't stand up for yourself. So to me, that's what that represents. The panther is just fierce, silent but fierce, right? And that's really my personality. I'm a quiet guy, but if you piss me off, I'll definitely say something. I won't be physical. I'm not like that kind of guy. But I mean, if you put me in danger, I will defend myself. What tips? Top 5 pro tips to get your drums to sit deep and punch. I think we talked about that previously. I don't have top 5. Keep your bass clean. That's it. Sometimes adding that attack. So we talked about that with test tube. Adding a bit of attack makes it punch. Sometimes adding micro gaps between notes help distinction between the sub hits. So adding small gaps between the bass. Is there a plugin that you can apply to your drum bus that helps them sit right in the mix without having to adjust each individual hit? Having to sit. Well, I would suggest you get the individual hits to sit right first. Then you can use a drum bus. I use minimal drum compression on my drum bus. Sometimes I'll saturate. So using a saturator on the drum bus is a great technique to bring that out. Another good way is parallel compression. It's a great way to keep the dynamics of the track while bringing certain sounds out of the drum bus. So yeah, I would say that saturation and parallel compression to help your drums come out. Do I use a template when starting a track? If so, what's the plugins you find yourself using in every track? I have a basic template which has a kick, hi-hat, snare, and percussive track or layer. They don't have any sounds in them. I used to have sounds pre-selected, but lately I just select them as I go. But basically that's how I start. I use that. I almost use Serum on every track. Almost use Devaster. Almost always use Valhalla Vintage Reverb. Lately it's been Arteria's Rev Intensity for my reverb. Late EQ8, but recently it's been Pro Q for my EQ. It's better to have less tools than too much. Unfortunately now, I mean, again, I'm being a hypocrite. I have too many tools now because as a YouTuber, I'm using all different tools to demonstrate tools. I get offered tools. So now my library of tools is just insane. But if you can limit the number of VSTs, that's better because then otherwise you have choice anxiety. You don't know what to choose to start making a track when you have too many choices. So limit your choice to find creative freedom. You say work consistently. However, what do you think about putting music on a side for some time? Sometimes when I got writer's block, yep, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, it's a balance, right? Yeah, you got to work on it consistently, but sometimes it makes sense to just get away from it for a while. Take a break for like a month or two, even however long you need to just live your life. Try other things, try different hobbies, experience life, travel, eat new foods, meet new people. Because then getting away from that and then coming back, you'll get a refreshed approach, refresh outlook on producing, and you feel inspired from your new experiences. So I definitely encourage taking a break, right? Getting away from it, right? So lately, because as a YouTuber, I don't have that much time to produce now. So you get to a point where you practice every day. And at that point, you get to the point where you can take longer gaps in between. But I still encourage consistently working on something. Consistently working on a skill to build that skill up. Can you speak a bit about your process in gain staging for your tracks? So I'm new to gain staging. I'm learning the process. I'm using a VU meter. So very important. Learn how to use a VU meter, because something about the VU meter has a slower response rate on that needle. So it gives you a general reading of the loudness, and you can then get the general loudness of different tracks at a certain level. And especially with certain plugins, for example, plugins that have built-in saturation stage, you need your input to play at a certain level for those saturation harmonics to come out. So you have to use proper gain staging. We just got a couple more minutes. So we just got a couple more minutes before the stream is ending. So at 8 p.m. we will. Art Effects is up next. And to access the video, just go back to the channel and click on his video. So if you want to watch Art Effects, just make sure you go back to D&B Academy's channel page and open up Art Effects' video. Last question. What is the best advice you would give to yourself in your early stages of your career? Well, don't waste your time searching for love. I wasted a lot of time looking for girls when I could focus my time making music. Focus on priorities. Focus on making music. Learn marketing. That's a really important one. I didn't learn proper marketing skills until later in the game. Although I went to school for marketing, I didn't really apply it. So learning good marketing today, especially social media skills to get your name out there and build web presence, is very important. It's really 20% talent. Yes, you have to be good first, but 80% of it is business, marketing, meeting the right people, networking, right? Building your clientele and your support group. So get good at marketing, social media, and networking skills. And don't waste time with whatever. Just focus on music. Don't waste time with girls. Focus on making music. If you're a girl, I apologize for saying that. Don't waste time chasing guys. Focus on making music. Have a love for the music. So yeah, once again, my name is STRANJAH. I want to thank you everyone for tuning in and watching my stream. Thanks again to everyone at Drum and Bass Academy for having me on. I enjoyed walking you through my track test tube. And if you haven't followed my channel yet, make sure follow me. You can find me on all your favorite platforms. It's STRANJAH, STRANJAH, and subscribe to my channel. I do videos every week. And also make sure you subscribe to Drum and Bass Academy. They're doing videos a couple times a week and helps you amp up your skill with drum and bass and electronic music. So just want to thank every one of you for listening to me gabble for the last 2 hours. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And until then, we'll see you at the next video. Peace.